So for any doctor, medicine is a vocation that is very nearly all-consuming. It is highly structured, highly regimented, and requires a lifetime of dedication. In this video, I'm just going to explain how the journeys that medical professionals travel intertwine, as well as 3 rules, and we do have more, but 3 rules that we at Voyage think medical professionals should live by. Of course, if you're wanting to talk through how to maximize your financial journey, just head to our website and book a call, and you're probably looking for the planning button, not the lending button for this one. So the 3 journeys that we see and that we advise our clients on are medical, financial, and life. And we can map these journeys out pretty well because the medical progression, the career progression is quite set out and quite established. So you, as a medical professional, are going to be somewhere on this list. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. You probably started at uni. So this is the medical pathway is really the ones that is underlined up here. So from uni to intern, RMO, registrar, senior reg, and then consultant. The financial journey is then mapped pretty closely because we know exactly what you're going to be earning, not exactly to the dollar, but pretty closely. We know what you're going to be earning over the course of your career at each of these stages. So at uni, we know that you're going to be broke because you're spending all of your time studying. Once you're in your intern year, we'll probably, with a little bit of overtime, you're going to be sitting at high 5 figures, if not maybe very low 4 figures. Once you hit RMO, we're going to be starting to hit pretty comfortably 110, 120K per year. Registrar, then we're starting to look at low to mid. Obviously, the more we go into your senior registrar years, especially if like a training reg, ideally, hopefully you don't stay a service reg too long. But training reg, we're starting to hit mid 100,000s. As a senior reg, with quite a bit of overtime or responsibilities, we're going to be hitting mid to high 100,000s. And then there's probably going to be a bit of a dip, actually, quite often if you're going for your fellowship, specifically if you're going for your fellowship overseas where other health systems don't pay as well as the Australian system does. There might be a bit of a dip in your income here, but once you come back, you're going to be hitting consultant, and then you're going to be earning a lot of money, 250K to, if you're in one of the more higher earning specialties and you're working pretty hard, you're going to be earning 7 figures plus. So that's the financial journey. And then we can map the life journey that goes along with this as well. So you can see some of these down here. Back in your early days, you're going to be introduced to debt. BOQS used to be a really bad contender here, or culprit, I should say, is probably more accurate. Really bad at introducing you, and really helpful, admittedly, for students just trying to get by, giving you a credit card, giving you an overdraft, and then they hope that you obviously do banking with them and you keep those overdrafts paying interest for many years onwards. But typically, you get your first introduction to debt, and you get credit cards where no other lender would give any other type of profession a credit card or an overdraft. Can be useful though, especially at the end of uni. You just wanted to go away for a couple of months before you start your career and you'll rack up the debt. That's fine as long as it's paid off pretty quick. Next is intern. Typically around here, some finance companies, or I won't say start to get their claws into you because that's a bit harsh, but a finance company will sign you up to stuff you probably have no idea about. They'll put you into things without ever explaining what it is, why you're there, what the grand plan is. They're just try and treat you as a number and just put as many of you into the same sort of stuff as possible, whether or not that's actually in your best interests. You'll probably become tempted by novated leases around now as well. Usually RMO, registrar years, we start to look at the first home. Usually the RMO years is when you start to realize how expensive being a doctor is. Usually by registrar years, and not everyone follows this journey, right? Like some people will come into medicine in their mid-30s, some even later than that. Some will come from dentistry or from veterinary or from physio, from nursing, from other areas. But like typically, usually by mid-registrar years, you're in your late 20s to early 30s. You're starting to try to manage kids, study, shift work, workload. Everything really collides in your registrar years, and those years are really tough. We've got a lot of clients who are partners. Both partners are doctors, both on shift work, both trying to study, both trying to get into their specialties, and both then trying to raise kids as well. What you guys put yourselves through is quite often underappreciated. You also then quite often, you get the feeling that everyone's doing better than you. It's very common in doctor circles for what we term lifestyle creep, where you're working with people who are earning multiples of what you are. They've got the nice car, they've got the nice house, they're going away for holidays frequently. They seem to be doing a lot better. Once we scratch under the surface, we find that's not always true, but it's certainly the perception that people get. Okay, you realize how much money you've earned. Usually, if people are talking to us by this stage and we go through how much they've earned and how much they've actually kept, there's a bit of a realization there, especially if they've still got debt, that we're working with our doctor clients to try and get rid of that debt. Once we hit senior registrar years, we're looking at, as I said before, the sort of the famine and poverty year. If you're doing fellowship overseas, you need to make sure that you've got some cash saved up. By the time you hit consultant, everything is pretty easy. Now, the financial events that we really need to be taking care of at each of these stages are university, just staying alive, but intern, typically we'll look at salary sacrifice, superannuation optimization, first home savings, and speculative stock purchases, which I think I mentioned in one of my slides down below. First home, wills, EPA. Now, we are somewhat switching our strategy with first home buyers medical to start to look at more like of a rent vesting strategy, which I'll probably do a separate video on. Rent vesting, especially in this market, like putting money away is pretty difficult, and the property market just keeps on increasing. So doctors being able to take advantage of a 95% borrowing strategy, purchasing an investment or maybe a home that they live in for a couple of months to get as many of those first home buying benefits as they can. One that they don't plan on staying in though, that they then move out of, we're able to gear it appropriately, and we're able to take advantage of that property growth. Can be pretty beneficial. So again, I'll shoot a separate video. I'll just talk to us if you're wondering how to save up for your first home or how to start your property journey. Wills and EPA, especially if you're starting to have kids around here, really important. Navigating mat leave, really important if you've coupled up. First investment property purchase, we might look at this in combination with a start or getting your start on the property ladder. So in combination with figuring out, like, do you go your first home or do you purchase an investment? Typically, you'll need to figure out what an ABN and BAS are, especially if you're starting to do some private billing work or some locum work, or you're starting your GP registrar years in a clinic. You need to figure out what that is, and we can help you with that, of course, as well. Saving up for overseas fellowship, saving up for a first family home, and you're a doctor, you want to have a nice property. Super concessional contributions once your income starts ramping up. And then once you reach a consultant stage, typically we can start looking at your dream home. We can start looking at self-managed super. We can look at practice buy-in or purchase and estate planning as well. So those are like the sort of the primary financial events. Now, in terms of the 3 rules, again, we've got more. I'm just going to go through 3 in this one. But number 1, you do not need to take unnecessary risk. So for sure, in your early days, you can dabble and gamble with mining shit stocks and cryptos. Just learn that lesson early. Really important to keep in mind is that you've won the wealth game already. You just don't need to do anything stupid. So just like your income is going to increase significantly, and you can be working 3 or 4 days a week earning really good money, like top 1% money. So you've already won the wealth game. It's a long game that you're playing. Just don't do anything stupid. And we find even consultants do stupid stuff like buying vineyards without consulting their financial advisors. Risk is required here. You don't need to take unnecessary risk. You do need to take some risk because doing nothing will actually see you go backwards. So number 2 is just focus on income. This is related to number 1, but you've already won the wealth game. You're going to be on really high income. Everyone has a different wealth engine and different skill sets. Yours is just income. Tradies, they may buy and renovate properties themselves because they've got the contacts, they've got the skill set, they can get a bathroom done by paying their mate a slab of beer sort of thing. Like they've got the contacts and the skills to buy and renovate. Engineers might look at property subdivision because they can figure out, they've got the income, number 1, but they've got the analytical and Excel skills to figure out like where to purchase, how to purchase, what to spend on. Like they're a little bit more analytical, so they can figure that out. Yours is income through work. And just a reminder, I haven't mentioned this previously, but you're already ahead on day 1. So on the first day that you start work, you're going to be on high 5 figures. That's the median income for most Australians. So you're already ahead on day 1, and then you only are going to get better and earn more from that. Really, the equation that we need to keep in mind is income, take surplus and allocate. So we've got your income, we're going to take surplus from that, and then we're going to allocate that to passive investments. That's basically our strategy. It's 100% going to work in the long term. You don't need to do anything flash or take unnecessary risk, which was that rule number 1. And number 3, the last one, the earlier you start, the better. So this is just I'm sure you've seen something like this before, but like compounding interest actually matters, especially over the long term. Our brains have just not really evolved to understand an abstract future. So even though we can show people this, and even me, for example, I can't visualize what my life and what my finances are going to look like in 20 years. Well, it's really difficult to properly, truly internalize it. So we don't need to, we just need to know that it works. So it's harder for us to envisage a number that's 20 years away. It seems like nothing's happening, but it is, especially towards the end. So the earlier we actually start this journey, the better it's going to be for you. As I said, I've got more rules. I'm not going to go through them. If you would like to have a chat to one of our advisors, we would absolutely love to talk to you about your journey and how to start investing and how to start managing all of these financial events. So all you need to do is head to our website, click book a chat, probably choose planning instead of lending, have a chat to one of our advisors, and we'll see what we can do for you.